All right, everybody, welcome back to the Top Agent Podcast. We have a very special episode for you today, but first, I am one half of your hosting team, Ryan Espy, joined by the other half of my hosting team, Stacy Regula. Stacy, how are you doing today?
I am good. How about you?
Wonderful. Now, you arranged this guest, which
Did.
is a pretty big deal. So, without further ado, we have Mr. Lars Hedenborg joining us today. Lars is the founder of Real Estate B School. He is also in the Game Changers organization and is very near the top of EXP as far as agent attraction is concerned. He's a success story in EXP, and let's get right to it. Lars, welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
I am doing awesome, guys. I'm excited about our conversation today.
Yes. Well, we have these conversations with people and we try to dig into a little bit about what they're all about. So basically, right off the hop, can you tell us a little bit about your background and maybe what life was like before real estate? And I understand there's several different pieces to the real estate of in your life, but previous to that, can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So 2007, March 5th, 2007 was the day that I separated the umbilical cord from my corporate, really cozy, multiple six-figure corporate job to get into real estate sales. And I didn't know really, it took me like almost a year to figure out even what I got myself into. It was like, I don't know. It wasn't the job that I thought it was going to be, like looking at houses. And, I was an investor previously, so that's how I got turned on to it. But in those first 10 months, I sold 27 homes. Then my first full year, 2008, that's when the market sort of hit the skids. The Great Recession in the US was, I did 44 transactions, instantly 7 days a week, instantly sort of taken away time from, my roles as husband and dad. We had a 1-year-old at that point, and we were going for our second, and it was unmanageable. And so I just turned to leverage and automate, delegate, marketing systems and, assistants and VAs, and kind of went down the path of leverage, and it worked. And, I did 58 transactions, and then 118 and 178 and 248, and then over 450 transactions in a year. And that year I worked like 42 days. So that's like the journey. I made all the mistakes you can make, most of them multiple times. So that's like the sexy version of the story, is like, oh, it just grew and it was easy and natural. And, none of it was natural. I'm super introverted. I have never, before building that business, I've never led or managed anybody before. But I did have this sort of unnatural drive to, unnatural is a better way of saying unhealthy, from some jacked up, we're all jacked up as in our upbringing. And that was really the motivation for me to succeed. So I probably answered more than just what did I do before real estate, but hopefully that gives like an overview and you guys can kind of pick on the different parts of the journey. That would be helpful.
No, for sure. So what did that decision look like for you? Like, I want to be a realtor. Were you unhappy doing what you were doing before? Or you just like the idea of doing real estate? And then did you go to multiple brokerages and interview? Kind of that process for you. What did that look like?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I was transplanted, a corporate relo, to North Carolina from New Jersey in the US. And the guy that recruited me, so it was from the corporate headquarters of this company. And the guy that recruited me to North Carolina, his name was George. And he was 33 years in this one company, and he was running this division. The division was probably, I don't know, maybe $1 billion in sales. So it was a public company, and he was one of the 3 divisions. Within 6 months of me getting down there, he died from pancreatic cancer. So he had just bought his retirement home in Hilton Head, South Carolina. We went there for a strategic planning session. I mean, it was just amazing. I could just see him sort of in his retirement years. But within 4 months of being diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, he's no longer with us. And that was the motivation. That was like in 2005. That was the motivation for me to not want to sort of rely on just the corporate ladder and like navigating. There's this guy I was really close to that ended up becoming the chairman of the company. And at that point, he was chairman of like a $6 billion company or something crazy. And I was really close with him. I knew that I had a really straight line to success in this company.
Yeah.
But seeing a guy like that, 33 years with the company, never getting really any time to enjoy it. And this guy that I was close with that ended up becoming the chairman, he had moved his family 10 times in 12 years. And one of those moves was from North Carolina to the UK for 2 years, which, I mean, you could argue that it was probably an interesting move and the kids took something from it, but they were like high school age. And so like total disruption all the time for the sole purpose of him advancing his career. And it worked, but he was traveling Sunday to Friday, 100% of all the time. So he's home for 2 days. He had a really nice house, but he wasn't able to enjoy it, but 2 days a week. So that was the motivation for me to do something. I had sort of done some investing in New Jersey in real estate. I bought 3 two-family houses. I sold them at the right time in like 2005 before the market crashed. So I invested in like 10 properties down here in North Carolina. And I met a broker who was a really good sales guy, convinced me to leave my corporate job and get a real estate license. And I spent about 10 months in his, small sort of little independent brokerage. And then I went to Remax for 3 years. Then I owned a Remax for 5 years, but only ran my team out of it. Then I was independent. Then I was KW for 4 years and Gary's Top 100, and now EXP for the last couple of years.
Wow.
Now, what was the drive to, or what was the draw to EXP? What did you see there that you thought that's the next step?
Yeah, so that's a good question. So, and I'm going to answer it 2 ways. I'm going to answer it like for me personally, and then for why people should reach out to you and have a conversation about EXP. For me, I had real estate B school, so I have a coaching company,
Yes.
and I only had like when I joined EXP, I only had about maybe 120 paying clients, high ticket program, so really lucrative, but my reach wasn't what I envisioned myself, having more reach and more impact than 120 people. And sometimes in that environment, I don't know, coaching, everything is hard in terms of making money, but coaching, people pay you money and they just magically want to be awesome. And it doesn't work that way. So for me, it was about impact and reach. And then on the financial side, I had done a good job of accumulating net worth, but I had done zero because I exited all those rental properties. I had done not a good job of building any residual income for myself. So I love business. I build my businesses in a way where they're leveraged, but I didn't have any residual income. So that was the attraction. I hoped that it would work. I had to end a business partnership with, he didn't see what I saw at EXP. So for me, it was about the residual income side of it through agent attraction, and then the reach, the amount of folks that I could have access to. And Keller Williams is really, they're not really about giving you a platform, so in terms of reach and impact, it's forever he will have a spot in the Hall of Fame. But Gary's mostly about Gary, so it's him and his vision. And, so EXP is just way more entrepreneurial, I've found out, and they're willing to, give you the stage and, allow you to sort of impact. And so that's kind of like on that side. For every agent, I think you just have to open up your mind to what's possible and just objectively look at the platform that you're resting your business on today and what it would look like at EXP, right? So yes. I've opted into our health insurance. I'll save $10,000 a year in health insurance. I've taken advantage of agent attraction at a very high level. 5 ways to earn stock. All of our best agents give away their best stuff in EXP University. There's just the tech stack that we get access to, and the level of collaboration, and it's like fun again, Yeah. So that's kind of the long answer to your question.
Oh, that's great. So when you joined EXP, did you jump right into agent attraction, or did you kind of feel things out for a bit and then go from there?
No, I jumped right in. So I had built my real estate business in a way where it was super leveraged. Like I did my last production, like where I was the agent on a deal. in January 2012. So I was already running a very leveraged real estate team. So it really was for the sole purpose of bringing agents into my world and building something, a community inside EXP. So Real Estate B School powered by EXP Realty. Man, I just hope that it would work. Like, I studied the numbers, the guys that I'm partnered with, I looked at their numbers and, but we all rationalize, well, easy for them to do, or they got in early, or it's grown too much, or whatever crap we tell ourselves. So I was focused on that core activity. And it really took me some figuring out on how to do it. But I brought 25 people over in first 6 months, and that had grown in 6 months to 222 people. And then, like 6 months later, I think it was 600 in my organization. And I had only added 8 agents in that second 6 months. So like that's what I was hoping, that friends would tell friends. And, nobody is like, when you ask anybody about their brokerage, they're not like, man, my brokerage is really helping me solve all of my residual income issues, and they're giving me stock, and they offer healthcare, and like the tech stack is not this selfish, underhanded motivation to get all your data. Like people just have to chill out and talk to someone that they trust about EXP. And then if you don't want to join, don't join, but you have to do the due diligence on it.
Yeah.
I almost feel like people see it as too good to be true, so they dismiss it.
Yes.
In a way. So the next thing, as a real estate coach, for an agent struggling in a changing market, what advice would you give to them?
Yeah, so this is interesting because I started, in my market, March 2007, like I think sometime in 2008, I looked back on the stats of and I think I just looked at active listings. So I knew when I got into real estate, there was a shortage of inventory. There were 15,000 agents in my market. And I remember looking back in June 2007 for like 3 years, inventory just went through the roof. And we went from 15,000 agents to 5,000 agents. But there's still lots of homes selling, right? So I didn't really get distracted by any of the headlines, or I didn't watch news for probably a decade. I didn't know what was going on with anything. I just knew that there were enough homes selling for me to sell as many as I wanted to. And the market had nothing to do with my growth, right? So most agents get like freaked out, like 20,000 homes are going to sell in your market this year, and you're worried about selling 20. Like, it's not even like a real worry. Like you're just getting in your own head. So I think a lot of it is just mindset, and then actually doing the activities of a salesperson. This is a hard thing for, for someone to wrap their head around, but if you're not having conversations with would-be buyers and sellers every day, you're not even in the game of real estate. If you're just sort of hoping that one of your friends reaches out because they know you're in real estate, that's not the game. So you have to just play the game and be diligent about it. And every day time block 2 important time blocks in your calendar: 3 hours for new business development, and then an hour for lead follow-up. That's it, right? If you do that, you're going to be so busy in the afternoons. You're going to have so many clients. You're going to have to hire an administrator. You're going to have to hire a showing agent because you're so focused on bringing new business in every day. And then just putting together, email and text sequences and lead management, best practices and all that. But that's the advice I would give somebody. And it really just takes, your database and maybe one paid lead source. Paid home search leads still work. It's a grind, but it works.
Yeah.
Right. And the technology makes it as easy as it's ever been. And you have to be the amount of contacts with a stranger coming in on a forced registration on your buyer home search platform, it's probably like 15 to 30, combination of phone conversations, texts, emails back and forth, you stalking them as they're searching homes and all of that. So I would just be diligent about your database and probably, pay for a lead source, and then just be super diligent about that lead source.
That's great advice. So Ryan and I are both part of the Game Changers organization with EXP. So one thing we try to do is take as much training as we can, within Game Changers and EXP. And you have Real Estate B School. Do you want to tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, sure. I mean, we just launched a case study program. So Real Estate B School, it doesn't really matter where you are in your journey, but you have to want to succeed at a very high level financially and also have time freedom. So the traditional model, when you get busy as an agent, you're just gonna sell more homes, but be working 7 days a week. I did that. It's not really fun. Our Business Foundations case study program is for any agent under 500,000 GCI that gives you everything you need in the next 6 months to add an additional 2 to 3 transactions a month. So the focus is on like very intentional activities around, just the core. Even if you scale to 1,000 transactions, the stuff you'll learn in this core program, it's going to serve you forever. So that's the only plug I would give on B School. And it's coming at it with a different approach. So I don't want to teach you how to sell 50 homes and, get divorced and, have a heart attack. I want you to sell 50 homes and, work 40 hours a week and have a showing agent and a part-time admin or a VA, and maybe you take home 20% less of what you would take home on the 500,000, but you're not working 70, 80 hours a week. I've had so many conversations with agents that are traditionally successful selling 40, 50 homes a year, but they are working every day of the year. Every day of the year they're working. They even on vacation, they're working. Right. So that's just, to me, that's not a life worth living.
Yeah.
Fair.
What role do you feel social media is playing in our business?
Wow. So the first thing that came to my mind is the role social media is playing in the world, which is horrible. And I fall prey to it all the time. So that's kind of I think the role it's playing is that it's taking agents off of their game. I think they're constantly looking at other people, whether it's like, hey, this guy's wife is hotter than mine, or like, how come everyone's always on vacation? Or like, everyone's posting their best stuff on social media. You're looking at it all the time and you think your life is crap. I live an amazing life, but I can even go onto Instagram and be like, man, everyone's just so good looking on here. Like, I think I'm like ugly all of a sudden, it's just this strange, comparison is the thief of joy. So that's the first thing that comes to mind. Really your question was more like, how do you use social media to drive business growth? There are a few easy things you can do. I think everyone should do just a monthly market update, Facebook Live, where they're sharing, KCM slides like we do in Game Changers, or you're just pulling up your market stats and you become the guy or girl that everyone sees online, giving good market information. That's a no-brainer. Giveaways, instead of holding events like pie giveaways or pie giveaways are fine, but we used to do 2 big, really expensive events, and we've shifted over to giveaways where like we'll do a Yeti cooler giveaway where we'll make our lender pay for this awesome Yeti cooler and give us a bunch of swag that they have, and then promote it for a couple of weeks online. And there's steps in the process, but you could do 6 of those a year at no cost. That'll probably get you 10 to 12 clients because you're just in chat conversations with people. There's a process that you follow. We had she came in, I think, for, it may have been pre our production masterminds, but we had an agent on a team show us how she used Instagram. She sold 81 homes on this team. They're with me at EXP, but she sold 81 homes and 35 of them were straight from her business Instagram account. And all she would do is just sort of document every day. I don't have the patience for this, but if you're, you just document your day in either pictures or short videos. And then you essentially just take about 20 to 30 minutes once a day and you sort of put that documenting and do all your little things. And I don't know how to do all of them, but she knows how to do them. It works really, really well. And she showed us. And I think that's about it with social media. I think anything else you do on social media is going to take you away from any goal that matters.
I love the giveaways idea. I've done like local products and then you put it all in a basket and then do a giveaway. So you're supporting local.
Yeah, because your lenders, and lenders especially, they have a different, like if you went to a lender, you said, hey, I don't even know if it's legal anymore, but let's say it was, pay for, this lead source or give me a marketing agreement of some kind. The process to go through those marketing agreements is like an act of Congress. They have a totally different bucket for sponsorships. Yeah. If you go to them and say, hey, listen, I'm going to you first. I'm going to do 6 giveaways next year. And I want you to, you can have the right to sponsor all of them. They'll be less than $1,000 each of them, mostly around $500-600. Are you in? And they'll be like, yeah, I'm in, because they can get approval on, $5-6 grand for 6, essentially a digital event over a couple weeks. They can get approval on that in like just texting their manager or whatever. So that's a really good one. That's a no-brainer, and it makes it fun too.
Okay. Well, we know we were pressed for time, but we got 4 questions left for you. You ready for them?
They're
probably outside of what you would normally get asked.
I'm ready.
Favorite movie of all time?
Oh, favorite movie. Can I name 5?
Yeah, go ahead.
Goonies, Remember the Titans are the first 2 that come to mind. Goonies is probably my favorite. But Remember the Titans. I have so many favorite movies. I love movies. I can name probably 100, but those are my favorite 2.
Your favorite thing to do when you're not doing real estate?
Not doing real estate. I'm probably driving my son. My son's really into volleyball. So either driving him to volleyball or going to a volleyball tournament. I've really gotten into that.
Nice.
What book has had the most influence on you?
And I can only, outside of the Bible. So the Bible is number 1. But I'll give you a business book as well. Something in the habits arena. So James Clear, Atomic Habits, is probably like, we're just the result of our habits, good or bad. And it's just a fact. And so that book, Willpower Doesn't Work by Benjamin Hardy, they're 2 very similar books. Compound Effect by Darren Hardy as well. So those are 3 books that are in the habit realm that are really, really good.
That's awesome. The best piece of advice you've ever been given?
Man, these are good questions. That one's the hardest one. I might have to copy these for my podcast. The best advice that I've ever been given, I think it's probably from my dad. So I won't tell the whole story about my dad, but that's where most of my jacked up childhood comes from. Alcoholic, drank until I was 15, and parents divorced at 4, and just a lot of poverty and all of that. But he told me something like, most people don't go the extra inch, so most people are just sort of half-assing their way through life and business. And so I always remember that from him, like, to go the extra inch or go the extra mile on everything that you do.
Fantastic. Lars, thank you so much for joining us today. This was amazing. We appreciate you, and all the best. And definitely we'll be looking more into Real Estate B School.
Yes.
Awesome.
Thank you so much.